My name is Tracy Green, and this video is part of a presentation through Liberty University in a class called Studies in Interpersonal Communication. For me, interpersonal communication often feels like climbing a mountain, and I feel ill-equipped for the task, especially considering the varying terrains and the climate changes along the way up the mountain. The skills for ascending the mountain of communication include negotiating identity. And what that means is that you recognize when you're in different situations that you behave differently based on that situation and what the need is. The way that I do that is by enlarging the conversation. I enlarge the conversation by first committing to having those fierce conversations. Not fierce as in scary or threatening, but fierce as in passionate, being authentic, being willing to truly engage with the person I'm speaking with. Another aspect of it is remembering that communication happens whether it's verbally or non-verbally. Like, did you know that the face can display over 1,000 expressions? Or that it's important to know that there are categories of proximity, which means how much space you put between you and the person you're speaking with details your intentions. The final thing is raising my listening level. There are 3 levels of listening. Level 1 is when you're listening from your heart. You're really trying to understand what your speaker is saying. Level 2 is when you're listening, but you're already forming a rebuttal in your head. And level 3 listening is when you're not really listening. You may tune in and out, but it's basically just listening to know when to speak. Stewart says that our identities are built in our communication. For me, that would not be good news because my identity got, let's say, a rough start. So how that applies is that if it's a less than ideal situation, it can make you feel like you're insignificant for the task of communication. Visiting researcher at the Institute of Psychiatry in London, Dr. Birchnell, talks about this and actually recently wrote about it when he said that a person's current relating ability is tied to his or her past experiences. But that's not new information. Psychologist John Bowlby said it best in his attachment theory when he talked about how the relationships we form very early in life impact us for the rest of our lives. A tool that I've used to help me improve my communication skills is the DISC by Dr. Carbonell. The disc is a circle. It represents a circle with 4 quadrants, and there's a letter in each quadrant, and they represent human behaviors. The D is for directing or demanding. The I is for inspiring or influencing. The S is for steady and S is for steady and stable, and the C is for cautious but competent. For me, my behavioral blend is in graph 1, I'm an IS, and in graph 2, I'm a CIS. Now what that means is graph 1 is what's expected of me, and graph 2 is who I really am. It's me. I, despite my early beginnings, am a people person. I love relationships. I love working with people. I like strategizing and problem solving, and I enjoy being in healthy relationships and healthy environments, not those that are antagonistic. Knowing that helps me to be able to enlarge the conversation so that I can be a better communicator with the people I'm in relationship with. What that means, though, is that I must be willing to be open with myself and with others. that I must be willing to speak with clarity and power for myself, and that I'm okay with taking risks. I want to get to the heart of the matter. In 1957, two very public figures, Jewish psychologist, philosopher Martin Buber and psychologist Carl Sanders, had a public dialogue, and everything didn't go according to plan, what people expected, that they thought they would agree on everything and they didn't. But the one thing they did agree on is that you don't learn about relationships in a classroom or through a book. It's in relating to people, communicating. That's very important. For me, I've learned over the course of this class that I have personal barriers that sometimes sabotage my goals for interpersonal communication. Those things that's usually get in my way are being a ritual listener. And that's the type of person, quite like the level 3 person, that is already forming a defense while you're talking. The second one is being a Perry Mason. Perry Mason was a show that I grew up and I watched when I grew up, and I enjoyed it. And I learned from Perry Mason how to ask a question that wasn't really a question. It was more of a statement. And if I be honest with you, it's an accusation. That's not good. The third one is asking why. That automatically puts the other person on the defense. Why'd you do that? That's not good for communication, interpersonal communication. I also recognize that noise pollution is a big problem, whether it's internal or external. The noise pollution when communicating can be very important. To me, that is the flat-brained person. That's the person that is depressed or angry or unhappy, fearful, and they come up to me and I've been happy, I've been relaxed, but the minute they say something, everything changes, even about me, inside me, and all around us. So I'm learning how to reduce the noises, reduce and eliminate those noises. And I do that by using the listener talker card by Dr. Peterson, and it gives each person their role. It tells them what your role is while you're talking or what your role is while you're listening. I really love using that. Also, I'm learning better how to manage my relations. That means maybe not being around the flat-brained person so often. It means changing those degenerative spirals of communication. If it's going down, recognizing that if I change my behavior, I can change the direction of that spiral. What I've learned through this process is that I can have an action plan and use it by being self-aware, being aware of me, being aware of what I need and what's going on internally. Also being a sympathetic listener. It has been said that a good listener is like a midwife. She helps the other person birth what's in them and bring it out. And then it's important that we address conflicts. I have to be willing to do whatever it takes to address those conflicts. There's also the double reverse twist where I don't have to respond to somebody saying something to me. I can emotionally step back and then repeat back to them what they said and give them the option of taking responsibility for that or changing their behavior. The great thing about communication that I've learned is along the way, I've found that this can be a refreshing experience and I enjoy it. The best part of all is that climbing that mountain of communication looked impossible from the beginning. Once you get on top, you learn that the view is priceless. So are the relationships that are being improved upon, that are growing and being restored. Thank you. I'm Tracy Green.